Hello, and welcome back to the Elemental I Ching. And today we're drinking in hexagram 26, which in the I Ching is known as the taming power of the great, the creative heaven, the light of heaven that is beneath, that is within the mountain of the heart, the mountains of our humanity, the mountains of appreciating life as it is and as it's becoming, as this rolling creative heaven emerges from the depths of our appreciation through stillness. It's also called controlled power, that sage wisdom that's able to sit with what is, to not use power forcefully externally to prove itself, but rather it just is the profound nature of life, the profound beauty of life that's discovered through that stillness, through that restraint. And in the Gene Keys, it moves from the shadow of pride, that boastful nature of life, or that secret manipulative way that we try to control our external reality out of some sort of stress around the melancholy of life, around the numbness, the entropy. And it moves to artfulness, the restraint of freshness, that ability to pause, to channel our creative impulse in life, but not as a need for external validation or control or security of life, but rather as an unfolding of that great yang, that natural emerging beauty, appreciating our creation as it emerges through us. The pause in order to move when it's time to move, and the heart marketing that arises out of that artfulness, that natural expression of our joyousness, the ego that's used as the brilliant passion to bring more beauty and harmony to the world. And it moves to the city, the enlightened state of invisibility, the sacred tricksters, the invisible realm of that stillness that reveals beauty, the non-agenda, non-manipulating, non-changing influence of life that actually dissolves the individual will back into this collective harmony. And so today I'm sitting here in Heaven's Tea Temple at Wonderland, and I brought down Eric Nez, my dear friend and brother, master painter, transmission artist, and this is his transmission of pu'er, of the sacred tea pu'er, the medicine of this beautiful cup of tea, simmering beneath the towering tree, the pu'er tree, as light pierces through. And not to be boastful, as this key can be in its shadow state, but my joyous nature to bring out that I just had the incredible, rare, and beautiful opportunity to drink a pu'er tea from 1953. An ancient tree, a beautiful big leaf tea, that was profound, every steeping bringing about this profound new experience of life. And through that was a very living, embodied, elemental expression of this Gene Key and its profound nature of awakening the light from within the mountain, awakening the light within the stillness of life, in our inanimate objects or in plants and animals that we don't normally associate as that beautiful creative essence of the human consciousness, but rather awakening to the beauty in all of life. I think that's what real art is about, is bringing our awareness to that beautiful light hidden within everything, and the willingness to sit and to breathe with life as it is. Pride as a human, as a creator, as an artist, pride is definitely an attribute to be mindful of as I walk through the world. And sometimes the words that I use or the way that I express myself, especially as an American, as a creative rebel, there can be that boastful and manipulative nature that pushes outward with the force instead of restraining and maturing and learning, and then allowing that artfulness to arise at the right moment. So as we were sipping this tea, I could feel that controlled power, that taming power of the great that asks us to relax into the beauty of each moment, each fresh moment as it arises. And literally when we drink these teas, you can see them coming alive, like light that's actually emanating from inside the tea. And at Heaven's Tea, we study these sacred teas, these powerful vibrational medicines, because they awaken, as we were talking about in our tea ceremony today, awaken these sixth-dimensional palates, these tastes that are beyond just our normal experience of taste, awakening to the subtleties, to the spiraling subtleties, awakening in each moment. And so I honor art as that pathway to awakening more experiences of beauty than we normally allow our consciousness. You know, where do we get stuck in the rhythms and routines? Where do we get overwhelmed and stressed out about the day-to-day part of life? And this massive mountain of our own humanity that we have to climb step by step, and sometimes it's hard. You know, and we have examples of great pride and boastful nature and the manipulative nature of the people, quote-unquote, in power who abuse that power. But here we are with the opportunity to express our power through the natural, delightful, sensual stillness. To restrain that creative impulse just to the right moment, the right touch. And art, especially Eric Nez as a visual painter, has opened my eyes to brand new colors I never knew I was even seeing. And by watching him paint in the studio, I've spent hours watching him paint, doing time lapse of his creations, and watching the care and the subtlety that he's putting into the slightest amounts of energy, just subtly pushing and pulling with colors to bring something alive. You know, the restraint of freshness for me will always be that paintbrush just an inch, a millimeter away from the canvas, that moment of pause. Or as Eric Nez calls it, contemplating. You know, he's contemplating what he's going to paint. There's this powerful intention that's resting at that pause. And in some of his pieces, you know, with tea or with his plant medicines, or also with yoga, he paints a lot of yoga postures, and he wouldn't even put his brush to the canvas of Surya Namaskara until he had done 108 sun salutations to prepare his body, to cultivate in that waiting time, to cultivate and nourish himself so that when the freshness emerges, when the creative impulse moves from his being to the canvas, it is a transmission. It is full of artfulness, really imbibing life to such a degree that every ounce of medicine that pours from our experience, our modalities, whether we sing or paint or draw or just the way we walk through our life as art, it can be filled to the brim with this overflowing gratitude, with this appreciation of the beauty of life. And just like these ancient teas, it may take years, decades, right? Restraint, decades of time. All these ancient cycles of time spiraling the stellar light of the stars and fermenting as these leaves decay, they become greater and greater medicine. This is a metaphor. It's not even a metaphor. This is how life is creating its most potent medicine for us over time. Through deep care, through deep loving appreciation, through every ounce of its own decay. Life is naturally going through these cycles of growth and decay. We don't have to race out to share who we are when we hit those highs. As Wonderland, we're looking for the sustainable highs. We're looking for that cultivation of creating this beauty constantly in a balanced, healthy, daily rhythm way. Right? The pride key, it's moving too quickly. It's trying to share that beauty so quickly because it's actually uncomfortable. But artfulness has the willingness to sit, to restrain, and then deliver. It still delivers. The ego is this brilliant golden light of who we are that we do get to share through the mastery of our craft. And the cultivation of our craft, of our life as art, is the constant learning, turning, twining of life, informing itself in each moment, in each fresh moment. And then there's invisibility. Moving even beyond that artful expression out into the world. That stillness that discovers the beauty of all that is. And I think of the editor in a film. I'm an editor in one of my skill sets. Editing films, editing stories, weaving stories from behind the scenes. And I believe if an editor is doing their job right, you're not thinking of appreciating the editor. You're appreciating the actors, or the director, or the visionaries, or the special effects, whatever it is. Their job is to be invisible, so that you're not thinking about, oh, someone cut scene A next to scene B. Look how they juxtapositioned these two characters, left and right, to tell this part of the story. They weave the story so that you're just enraptured. and into the story, into the experience, into the present moment experience of receiving the art. I love that as a higher aspiration of an artist. Sure, you can get up on stage and blast out your rock star nature. Go for it. Yes, we need that solar, that healthy pride, right? The lion's pride, the expression of the majestic nature of who we are. We need examples of that healthy masculinity or truth that imbibes life to such a degree that it can share at this bounteous nature of life. But this key, the taming power of the great, to tame our response to life. And that is how we master our experience of life. So the higher aspiration for me as an artist is that invisibility, not just to be seen for recognition, which is a secret egoic need, but that I'm not worthy, so somehow I need to be seen, but rather to weave a story that is so beautiful that it takes away the thinking mind of trying to decipher the moment, but rather to dissolve into the moment. May my individual will, my individual art, be in service to the dissolution into the eternal art, the eternal beauty that is woven between all of us. That is the great power that is within the mountain, the light within the mountain. I also wanted to share just this vision of, I have a really deep connection to certain mountains, certain sacred apus, Apu Shasta, and even my Apu Wais, this mountain of right here in my own home, and of course the mountains in the Andes, Apu Machu Picchu, Apu Huayna Picchu, Apu Larabata, Apu Hatumbata, Apu Lindley, Apu Asangate, these majestic mountains, these great holders, carriers of divine wisdom, anchored throughout all the seasons of time, like the mists and those seasons and the weather. They move past these majestic beings who stay still and present throughout the longer cycles of time. And they become these carriers, these holders, these lineage holders, these Dharma keepers, these incredible wisdom keepers of the divine light, and calling on the mineral kingdom, on the holders of light, how so many of us can find such gratitude inside a crystal that we have a deep connection to, and how it actually holds the resonance of light over time. And when I forget, I can hold that crystal and remind myself. When I forget, I can have that cup of tea and drink in the light from these ancient trees, from these long cycles of life. May we remember our own appreciation of beauty as it unfolds throughout all time. May we listen to those invisible, subtle signals of life, of the real art of life, weaving us back to the present moment. May we learn to harness the gift, the light of who we are, the light within our mountain, and harness that in right relation to the highest aspiration to really cultivate every day. Now, I talk a lot about how in humanity right now we're in this big time of great change. And art is not a bypass. Art is not a distraction. Art is not an experience that's not a help to the economic, governmental, ecological crises that we may face today, or the relationships that we're having trouble with. Art is a medium, a doorway, a pathway, a way of cultivating our energy, to infusing light, to using our intention, our relaxed body, to give this direction for life's energy to naturally pour through us into greater and greater experiences of light, love, compassion, integrity, majesty. It's through that ecstasy of engaging with our life as art that we will create real change in the world. And it starts with that cup of tea, with that deep pause, with that willingness to restrain our impulse to try to fix something of the external situation, not as a bypass, not as an apathetic, flaccid surrender, as a lucid surrender. To let life in, to let life inform us, and then know how best my vessel, my medicine, can inform the world to rally around this majestic heartbeat of love, that the whole universe is beckoning us to become a part of that symphony more and more and more in every fresh moment. This is my feeling of 26, of the artfulness, of the taming power of the great. To remember that great aspiration for the invisible tricksters and shapeshifters of the world that teach me to be light again, to not take life so seriously that we forget the impermanent nature of reality, constantly bringing fresh new phenomena. But that immortal essence of love, of that witness, of that true nature beyond the impermanent phenomena is constantly appreciating the beauty of life. And we have the opportunity to remember that each moment, in each breath, in each step, in each stroke on the canvas. So many blessings to all of you today. I'm glowing from this beautiful tea, and I hope to transmit that in the best way I can through these digital means. Many blessings.